Today we're going to be talking about practical strategies for driving e-commerce success. And I just want to sort of let you know what this presentation is not going to be, okay? We get death by PowerPoint all the time. So this this presentation's not going to have lots of jargon. I'm not going to talk about stats you don't understand and all the metrics that go along with e-commerce. I'm not going to tell you about strategies that are out of reach and unattainable. And as you can tell from this slide deck, it's not going to be all show with pretty presentations and it's going to be no go. But what I can promise you is if you stick around, you're going to walk away with a plan, an e-commerce plan to implement into your business. I'm going to let you know what numbers are important when it comes to running an e-commerce store. I'm going to let you know what's holding you back from growing your e-commerce business. And hopefully there's a little bit more go and not as much flashy show, okay? And if you do stick around, there's going to be a little checklist at the end that you can download that you can implement into your business. And ideally you have an e-commerce plan or plan for world domination. Why listen to me? I've been ranked top 50 in e-commerce 3 times now in Australia. I have my own e-commerce business that did over $1 million in less than 18 months, and now it's on track to do that in 7 months. I've helped over 100 different e-commerce businesses grow from $0 to millions of dollars or just to $20,000, $30,000 a month. I've worked for some pretty big brands like Superdry, 2x2, Petstock, Wesfarmers, all in e-commerce and building up their e-commerce department. So I've got a little bit of experience, and I'm now becoming a bit of a YouTuber. So feel free to check me out on YouTube if you like to. I don't know if that makes me famous or worth watching, but hey, we're giving it a go. So I really want to take you through sort of why e-commerce stores are struggling right now. And hopefully you guys can resonate with this. Actually, just so I can read the room, who runs an e-commerce business right now? Is it your main form of business, or is it sort of a supplement to your wholesale business? Yep, excellent. Okay, cool. So you're probably going to relate to some of these things. So this was the biggest one I thought about why e-commerce businesses struggle is you can't find profit. I remember when we first launched e-commerce businesses and I was working for a wholesaler, I was with Pacific Brands actually, and they said, look, we'll start an e-commerce business because it's low overheads, it's really easy, we just turn it on and run a website and we make sales. And I think you can all agree that's not necessarily the case. Yes, we don't have a bricks and mortar presence and we don't have to have staff and we don't have to have, well, as many staff, but there's low overheads is a fallacy. It's hard to find profit. The other thing is we get a little bit overwhelmed by the technology. Who here is an IT person? Yeah, I didn't think so. Who here loves technology? Yeah, maybe a couple of people. We get a little overwhelmed by the technology, right? And there's just so much technology out there, and that's one of the reasons we struggle because we don't know where to go next. And saying that, then there's too many shiny objects. Has anyone else got shiny object syndrome where a new tech comes out, or ChatGPT, or Bard, or Gemini, or whatever the new thing that's coming out, and we all get distracted by it, right? We get overwhelmed by that, and that's why we struggle, because we want to do the next shiny thing. You know, should we be on TikTok? Should we be still on Snapchat? Is Instagram dead? Should we be using Threads? There's all these shiny objects, and really trying to focus on those is really important. The other thing that I've really noticed with small businesses that are trying to scale when it comes to e-commerce is there's no plan. Does anyone have a plan on their e-commerce business? Yeah, a little bit. If you have a growth plan, you can't scale. And I really took this from when I worked in some of the big brands where you had to report to the board and ask them for lots of money, and they said, well, if you want to give me money, you need to give us a plan. So we'd plan out 12 months in advance exactly how much we make every single month and how we were going to get there. And that was how we grew our stores. Saying that, we need to make sure if we do grow that we're measuring the right things. There's so many acronyms out there right now, which is ROAS, CPA, CPC, LTV, and there's all these different things that we want to measure. We tend to measure so many things, but we don't actually focus on one thing. That's really holding us back from growing. And the final thing is that we tend to work on the wrong things at the wrong time in our business. And I was just chatting to someone a few minutes ago, and they were saying, oh, look, I think we should do this in our business now. We've already tried that, it didn't work. We should try this. And we just keep trying new things, but we don't actually get any results. And the reason for that is because you need a system. And in the 15 years I've been in e-commerce and the stores that we've grown, I noticed that there was a pretty consistent system in growing stores. We need to know what we got to do, when we're going to do it, and how we're going to do it. So what I decided to do was, how do I actually articulate this system into a really easy to understand way that we can just roll out, right? It's a bit like a playbook. So I developed something which we call the e-commerce operating system. Now it sounds a bit techie, but I'm going to take you through it a little bit. Right? This is the roadmap that I use on every single one of my stores, and it works really, really well. So if you've got a notepad, make sure you get it out, because we're going to talk about the way you're going to grow your e-commerce store using this super simple system. We break up, one one before I do that. The whole idea of this system is to get money, okay? So we can see our little dollar signs there, but it's not just get revenue, this is about making profit, because we can't grow an e-commerce business or any business unless we think about profit. And I'm sure you've heard revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is reality, all right? We want to make sure that we're making cash in business. This is the system that's... So the first thing in growing an e-commerce business that we need to do is we need to attract customers to our business. Like any sort of business, but in particular, we need to make sure we get traffic and we get users onto our store. Once we get them, we've got to work out a way we can convert them into buyers. We've all heard about conversion rates and how do we convert people, how do we convert our visitors. But if we can nail the attraction and then the conversion, we then have the right to start growing our business, scaling our business. If we can't attract customers and we can't convert them, there's no point trying to grow our business, right? We need to get them in the door first, convince them that what we have to sell is great, and then we can start putting in place measures to take our business to the next level. So I'm going to take you through a couple of pillars now on the different ways that we can attract, convert, and scale our business. When it comes to getting traffic, there's 3 super simple ways that we break up traffic into it. The first way is we pay for visitors, right? Who's running ads at the minute to their e-commerce store? A couple of you? That's the quickest way to get visitors. We pay for them and we use things like Meta and Google and other places like that. That's not the only way to get visitors, okay? The second way to get visitors is by capturing people's data, and we call it sort of owning the data, and it gives us an option to be able to directly communicate and speak with our customers, okay? So things like email marketing, SMS, social media following. We have a direct relationship with our customers and we own that data. And then the third one is we earn our traffic. So we earn people the right to come to our site by them finding us in search engines, other people talking about us, those things like that. So there's sort of the 3 main ways of getting traffic to our store, and I'll deep dive into the ways that you can leverage each of these in your business, but the key here is we need to be doing one of each of these things, okay? When we talk about conversions, there's 3 things, and we go from attract over to convert, and this operates like a flywheel, all right? So we want to think about it as a flywheel. In order to turn our visitors into buyers, we're going to need something, right? We need a product. If we don't have a product, we don't have a business, okay? Look at all the beautiful products here. Now the thing is, the product has to be something that people want to buy. We don't want to just start a store that sells widgets and people don't buy it. So we need to work out how do we actually ensure that the product that we're selling is what something people want to buy, and how do we display that on our website. And we'll go through a few tips that you guys can implement there. Obviously, we need somewhere to sell it, so we're going to need a store. Okay, we need to make sure our store is well optimized, we're converting well, we're transacting, and it's operating in the way that we want it to operate. And that's where the technology comes in. The final piece of the puzzle is making sure that we look after our customers. So if we're not looking after our customers and we're just a transactional business, we're not going to have them coming back to shop from us again, and we're not going to be able to this great word of mouth. And we need to really look after the customer and support them. If we can get all those things right, we're going to increase our conversions, and we'll talk through that in detail. So as we go around the flywheel, the next part of the business is if we can attract and we can convert, we can then start to think about how we're going to grow this puppy. So the first thing about scaling is understanding your numbers, and this is probably the most important thing of running an e-com business. Who here thinks they have good control of numbers and understanding the numbers when it comes to e-commerce? Not many, right? It's the first thing we need to think about, because we can't grow a business if we don't have money to grow the business, or if we don't know what the long-term value of that business is going to be. Numbers are super important, and that's where we get a little bit nerdy. The second thing we need to have is a plan. I talked about it a bit earlier. Do we have a plan of growth? Do we have a plan on what we're doing next month? Do we have a plan on our forecast? Do we have a plan on stock? Do we have a plan on projects? What are we actually doing each month? Because these things creep up on us, and we tend to do it at last minute. We don't do it very well if we don't have a plan in place. And then finally, once we get all that underway, then we can look at expansion. There's no point doing any of this stuff and trying to expand at the same time if we don't have our foundations in place. Is this all making sense to everyone? Great. So if we get all that right, we're going to have this nice flywheel, and it's going to compound over time. We work on getting more customers every time we go around the wheel. How do we improve our conversions every time we go around the wheel? How do we expand our business, increasing our value and expanding our team and expanding our reach? Now I want to take you through each of these in detail, and so grab your notepads because we're going to be dropping some strategies here. So the first one is how do we get customers? So how do we attract them, aka get more visitors? All right? Does anyone have a secret bullet for this? So it's the biggest question. I just need more traffic, right? Let me take you through the 3 types of traffic which we just talked about. The first one we mentioned was paid. Now, paid traffic is the way we get customers as fast as possible. And there's a few key ways we can do that. Super simple. We can run Meta ads, Google ads, Bing ads, TikTok ads, Pinterest ads. There's no shortage of ways for us to pay for traffic. We just don't want to do them all at once because how are we going to know which one's going to work? And we'll talk a little bit about that. The good thing about paid ads, and I recommend everyone get started on these, is we get customers now. All right? I talk to way too many e-commerce store owners that are like, I'm not going to pay for traffic until my store grows, but that means you're not going to get sales for a long time and you're paying with time instead of money. So we want to be paying customers to come to us now because it lets us learn what people like and what they don't like about our business, and then we can iterate over time. The second way we get traffic is we earn the right for people to come to our store. And this is things where we call search engine optimization. We do referrals where partners drive us business, or we might do collabs with other brands. We get people reviewing our products. We might get awards. We might get word of mouth. And this is where we earn the right for people to come visit our site. Now, we can't force this to happen because we're earning it. We need to have great products. We need to have great relationships, great networking. And if we do that, we'll get money later, all right? But we're putting the time in now. So we're paying with time instead of money when it comes to earning our traffic. So if you think about your current sort of traffic profile that you're getting, we want to make sure we've got a good amount of earned and a good amount of paid so that it comes together. But the third one, and this is where the magic happens, this is what we call owned traffic. Owned traffic is basically things like email marketing, SMS, your Instagram or TikTok or wherever you've got followers, Facebook. And it's also producing content like blog content, writing for other people, things like that. Now, by having owned content, it means you're in control of your destiny. Now, you can't get owned customers if you're not paying for them to get to your store or you're not earning those relationships. So our suggestion is we make sure that we capture as much data from our customers as possible so we can maintain relationships with them. And the good thing about owning the customer data is that we make money ongoing, right? So if you've got a great relationship and you've got great engagement with your customers, we can get them to come back and buy from us time and time again. And the secret to scaling an e-commerce business is having repeat purchases, which is why you see subscription businesses doing really well. So to unlock the traffic, guys, I want you to not feel overwhelmed by all these things. Because if we look at this, how many we got? 4, 8, 12, 16 things that I'm asking you to do to grow your e-commerce business. Now that, at the start of the presentation, I promise you that I don't want you to be overwhelmed. Too many things. So I want you to go away and do just one of these in each, okay? I want you to choose one paid session, one paid traffic source, one owned traffic source, and one earned traffic source. So you could use meta ads, we could do SEO, we could do email marketing. Just start basic, start simple. Don't try and do everything at once. Really nail and get those things right so you know that's operating really nicely, and then we just stack on the next thing as the flywheel goes around. Is that making sense? Now, I talked about measurement early on in the piece, and when it comes to paid marketing, there's so many metrics to look at. And if you're working with an agency or an in-house person, they'll talk to you about ROAS, they'll talk to you about cost per click, they'll talk to you about cost per milli, they'll talk to you about lifetime value, all these things. But really there's one metric that just crushes them all, and it's one that I live by because I like to keep things simple, and it's called your cost per purchase. Cost per purchase is super simple. How much money did you spend on marketing this month, and how many orders did you get? And you just divide that by that. So let's just say you got 100 orders, and you spent $1,000 on marketing. It's $10 per order. Okay, so we just think of it like that. It costs you $10 to get your orders. It's a super simple way to understand how much you're spending on marketing, whether it's efficient. But the secret to that is making sure you're not paying more per order than you do have profit. So if you've got a $100 order and you spent $10 to get that customer, how much profit do you have left over after that? And if you have, say, $20, $30 of profit, you can spend more money on ads to get more people coming in. Cost per purchase is all you need to know about for now. You just measure that monthly, super simple. How much did you spend on marketing? And how much orders did you get? All making sense, guys? Awesome. Let's move to the next part, which is convert. And this has gone all funny. Convert is basically how do we make people buy from us? All right, super simple. So there's 5 reasons to buy. And I did a YouTube video about this actually. And really when we think about conversion rates is sort of the thing here. When we do think about conversion rate optimization, everyone goes down this, oh, my site, I need to change the color of the buttons, I need to have these widgets, have these pop-ups, I need to do buy now and all this sort of stuff. But really it comes down to the psychology of the buyer and why they want to buy from you. If you think about Amazon, you know, people don't go there because the site's beautiful and looks great. They go there because they answer the need of the question that someone has. You don't go into a store and buy something if you don't have a need. So I want you to think about these five reasons to buy. The reason someone comes to buy something from you, the number one reason is you either solve a problem, a want, or a need that they have. There's no other reason, right? People aren't just going to come and buy because they want to buy things. But there might be, some of those shopping addicts, but the majority of people come because you have a want or a need. And it might be that we want my home to look beautiful, I want to amplify the energy in my room, or I need to buy a present for someone, or I have a pain, or I have an event. There's always a reason that someone wants to buy something, okay? So if we know what that want or need is, we need to tell them what the outcome is going to be if they buy your product. The outcome is the important part. We tend to focus as product creators and product sellers on the features of that product, not the outcomes. So how many times have you been to an online store and you've seen, let's just think about a black t-shirt. Well, I buy lots of black t-shirts, clearly. But you go there and you're, okay, made from cotton, it is, this is the size, these are the dimensions, it was made in whatever. And it tells me all about the product, but it doesn't tell me the benefits of the product. The best stores in the world, which is called True Classic in terms of a t-shirt store, they do really well. They don't talk about how the t-shirt's made. They talk about what it does. They talk about has a neckline that's not scratchy. It's a flattering fit around the waist. So for guys that might have a little bit of a beer belly, it's tied around the arms to make you look like you're a little bit more muscly than you are. So they talk about the outcomes of buying this product, not the actual features of it. And I want you to think about when you look at your product page, are you highlighting the transformation the person's going to get by buying your product, not the things that does that? And then we can talk about the things that do that. Super simple, it's psychology. The third reason that people will choose to buy from you, you're solving their problem, you're telling them the transformation they're going to get, is you need to remove any risk and know that there's someone there to help them when they are going to buy the product. What I mean by that is, if I buy this t-shirt and it's the wrong size, what do I do? Is it an easy return policy? Can I contact someone? Is there a guarantee? What happens if it breaks? Right? People need risk being removed from their business, from their purchase, so that they can make a decision and realize that the decision they're making they're confident about. All right? I'll give you a little quick anecdote of a story. There was a large pet retailer in the US, which is called Chewy. They ended up selling like $3 billion, but they realized that customers were always buying at weird times of the night. So what they did is they just opened their customer service 24/7. Now, I know not everyone else can do that, but they opened it 24/7. They've seen the conversion rate double just by having 24/7 customer service on their store. Now, that's not to say that people use the customer service. They just knew that there was a safety net there if they made a purchase, that there was someone there to contact. All right, so remove the risk and provide support for people. If you've got a physical presence, this is really good. So if you've got stores, it's always good to say your location. It's almost good to say where something's shipping from. It's always good to sort of say those things because people can then associate support with a real business. The fourth thing is that you need to be able to prove what you say is true. What I mean by that is if you think about your product and you go on there and you say this is the best product in the world, it reduces stretching and all this sort of stuff, that's you saying it. Now people will sort of believe you, but they believe when other people say it. So we want to think about things on how do we show proof that what we say is true. We want to have product reviews on our pages. We want to have social proof, which is other people posting about us, awards, things like that. So we want other people to prove that our product is what we say it is. And then finally, we want to give value. Is your product worth more to that person than you're actually charging for it? Okay? So do they feel that the value equation is in their favor? And this doesn't mean drop your price. This means just add value in the product or be able to communicate that your product is worth what you're asking for, okay? So is it made from a material that no one else has? Is it designed specifically for a certain body shape? Does it smell longer, if it's a candle, does it smell longer than other candles? Does it have a unique scent? Does it create a unique feeling, all right? Because if we can stack those on, then our price is irrelevant if we can show that we have value on that. But you'll notice with these 5 reasons to buy, none of them is about change the color of your button, drop your price, put any fancy things on your site. It's all about thinking and putting yourself in the buyer's mindset on them making a decision. Because then if that's the case, they don't really care what your site looks like because your product is what they want to buy, all right? And then when we want to level up, we might start optimizing the site. But this is what we need to do first. So I want you to take an audit of your product pages and your website and go, are we actually doing these things? Are we solving a problem or a need, or at least articulating that? Are we showing them what the outcome is and the transformation they have of that product? Are we reducing any risk for them, fast shipping, support, guarantees, all those sorts of things? How do we prove what we say is true? And then is our product worth what we're charging for it. So now that we've got that underway, we've got our visitors, we've convinced them that our product is really awesome. Now it's about how we're going to grow. And this is where we get a little bit numbery, right? So if you're not numbery, we're going to get numbery. I don't even know if numbery is a word, but I'm going to say it anyway. So how do we grow this thing? We've got a product market fit, we've got some traffic, we're making some sales, but we want to go to the next level. This is where the economics come into play, and this is the secret to unlocking the growth in your store. The first part is understanding your unit metrics, okay? So we understand how much we buy a product for from our supplier, how much we're selling it for, and how much we've got in between. Basic business. Do we have profit left at the end of the day? Really simple, okay? Because we don't want to spend more than we have of our profit. Now, if we're going in this hyperscale mode and we're looking for an acquisition and, it's not about profit, it's about growth, maybe you might play this game. But I would say the majority of the people in this world would like profit. Does everyone like profit in their business? Yeah, absolutely. So we don't want to spend more than we have in profit, which means we have to track it and measure it all the time, all right? So unit economics and unit metrics are really, really important, because if we have profit left over, what can we do? We can spend on marketing, we can spend on advertising, and we can grow our business. The second part is about forecasting, and this is super important. And I'm going to get you to raise your hand again. Who's had an online business that's run out of stock and we've had to wait weeks for it to come back into stock? Yeah? Yeah, I can imagine most people have, right? Because we haven't forecasted our growth. And then we have to wait for 4 or 5 weeks, we don't make any sales, and then we have this lumpy revenue cycle going on, right? So forecasting is ultra important, all right? Forecasting is one of two things. It is trying to work out how much traffic we're going to get every month, what's our conversion rate going to be every month, and what's our average order value. Now that's really simple to get out of Shopify. If you're using it, it's on the dashboard, right? Let's just say we get 1,000 visitors this month. How many do we think we're going to get that month, and what are we doing to get those? Okay? The second part of forecasting, it comes down to planning, because a forecast and a plan needs to go into play. There's no point saying I'm going to sell 1,000 units next week if we don't have a way of selling those 1,000 units, okay? So forecasting and planning go hand in hand. Planning is, what are we doing for marketing every month? What are we going to be doing for marketing? Are we mixing it up? What projects are we doing, little things that we're adding to our business? And then what does our stock position look like? And our marketing and stock need to work together. So I think about when I was working with Superdry, and we used to have to plan out 18 months in advance because we'd had to buy our stock 18 months and it wouldn't get here, for up until sort of 3 months before the season dropped. But we needed to have a plan in place 18 months in advance on what our campaign was going to look like, because we had 20,000, 30,000 units of products coming in. So having that marketing plan in place meant that we could forecast our stock, we could look at how we're going to sell it, and we could put things in place. And we want to make sure we're doing this monthly, right? And we want to be working 3, 6, 12 months ahead of where we're at. This doesn't only help you plan your business, but it helps the team know that everyone's on board and we know what's happening in our business, and we can make sure that we're growing at the rate we want to grow. And the fourth thing is team. We want to be surrounded by an amazing team, and this can become overwhelming because e-com and digital people are pretty expensive. Agencies charge you a lot of money, but we want to surround ourselves with the people that help us get there. But I want you to think about 2 ways of choosing your team members. Really simple way that I use as a litmus test when I'm hiring a team member. They have to do 1 of 2 things or they don't get by. They either have to fill a gap that I have in my business, or they win back my time. They're the only 2 reasons you need to hire someone. Do I have a gap? Is it a technology gap? Is it an experience gap? Or do I just need to get my time back because I'm doing low value tasks? So if I'm sitting there packing orders when I'm a CEO, that's my time. So we want to make sure that if we plan our team, will they fill a gap or will they win back your time? Who's hired someone just because they think they need to and they've realized it hasn't generated any revenue for your business? Good, great. Make sure you fill back or win back time. So I want to do a bit of a recap, guys, and just recap. Are we taking notes? Good, yeah, excellent. So I'll do a bit of a recap here. The first thing is we want to think about 3 traffic channels. Paid, get customers now. Earned, get other people to give you customers. And owned, okay? Making sure we capture everyone that comes into our business via email marketing, SMS, so that we can talk to them over time. Make sure they're following us on social media. But the secret is only choose 1 channel per pillar, right? So if you're doing paid, either choose Google or choose Meta. Probably don't choose anything else until you get around again. SEO, email marketing. That would be my recommendation for the first that you start. Meta, SEO, email marketing. The second thing is we want to measure the overall performance, which was cost per purchase. How much does it cost you to get an order? Super simple. And does that cost eat into your profits or not? The second thing around conversions, super simple, solve a problem or a need. But if your product doesn't necessarily solve a problem or a need, have a think about why you're selling it and how it can solve someone's need before you realize it, all right? And use that to highlight the outcomes that the person's going to get when they buy that product, so the transformation that they have when they use or give your product to someone else. And we want to remove the risk. So will they buy from us? How fast are they going to get that product? Is there any support? What are the returns? What are the warranties? Is there customer service around there? And then finally, when it comes to growing and scaling your business, we want to let your numbers drive your growth, okay? Don't just spray and pray and hope your business will grow. Be meticulous with how much money you're spending, how much profit you're making, and plan it out month on month on month on how your business is going to grow. So understand the unit economics and put a plan in place and stick to it. Might just check the room. Who has a marketing plan in their business? Well, that's the first step. I think you all need to get a marketing plan. And it doesn't have to be super hard, right? Our marketing plan is let's choose one topic to talk about every month. You know, so in one of my stores, we sell boxing gloves and fight and combat equipment. So we're like, okay, this month we're selling boxing gloves. Next month we'll sell boxing shorts. The following month we'll sell boxing shoes. And we just talk about that for the month. It's super simple. That's your marketing plan. Doesn't need to be more complicated than that, right? So think about putting in a marketing plan for sort of 2, 3, 4 months. And that keeps everyone on board, means that you know what emails to send, what social media to post, what ads to run, everything like that. So team, it's time for questions. I want to open up the floor. I'm not sure how much time we've got about 15 minutes or so, but I'd love to just sort of use this as a way that you guys can pick my brain, ask some questions. I put a little download for a checklist. So this is a 30-day checklist. So anyone that's starting a store or has a store, grab the checklist. It's basically a list of things that you need to do to sort of grow your e-commerce business from start to finish on how to get your first sale, get your next sale. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of time now if you have any questions or if there's anything that's holding you back from sort of growing your e-commerce business. So over to you guys. Anyone have anything? Yes? Yeah. Sorry, there you go. Sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah.
My struggle is like the scaling. So I have like paid ads and Meta on Google that works. I have like my customer base. I can talk to them and that works. But I always feel like some plateau and not really.
Okay. All right. Cool. So your question.
I don't have anything. I can just put more money behind and like.
Well, if we think about the flywheel we talked, so for everyone, if you didn't hear the question was, business is going okay, but we want to scale, and how do we go to the next level? So if we think about the flywheel we talked about, let me just go back to it. I didn't realize I made so many slides. So if we think about this, right? So right now you're doing Meta and you're doing Google, and you're doing some email marketing, and we just start to go around. The key here to scaling is understanding your numbers, right? So do you have a monthly marketing budget that you spend? Yeah? Is it infinite? Yeah?
If the return is good, then I'm happy to put more money
Excellent.
behind the ads.
Perfect. How do you measure your return?
Just with the analytics.
Analytics. So what we want to do is we want to measure the return by a cost per purchase. So we do every day what we do is we look at how much do we make for the day, how much money do we spend on that, how much did it cost us to service those goods, and do we have any money left over? Of the money we have left over, how much of that are we willing to put back in to grow our business? So we're growing so what we do is we have let's just say our cost per purchase target is $25. So we check every day, did we spend up to $25 to acquire an order? Let's just say I only spend $20 to acquire an order. That means I can spend a little more money every day. We just increase our budget every few days to grow until we hit our cost per purchase budget. Now, if we hit that and then we're like, okay, now we're stuck, what we've got to do is how do we start growing our email list? We start talking to that. Then we go, how do we go to the next level and go, well, if we've maxed out our advertising channels, what's the next channel we can stack on top? Okay? So we start thinking around in a circle. If we think we're maxing things out, our cost per purchase is maxed out, we just go throw in another channel and try and match that in, okay? Now, the thing is we don't want to be heavy on any one channel. So we don't want to be overdone in ads, we don't want to be overdone in SEO or overdone in email. We want to try and be, we call it a traffic trifecta. We want to try and be a bit in everything, 33% in each of those. So just sort of keep an eye on your daily spend and how much you're paying to get an order. Is that helpful? Yes? No?
Yeah. for me, like I know, like Google Ads.
Yes.
I know, like it's just like a certain amount of people looking for that,
Yep.
right, based on the keyword search numbers and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But then Facebook is a bit more. If you have a good ad, it can just.
Yeah.
But then I just always hit that plateau really, like. And I look at the numbers. I look at the return on ad spend.
Mm-hmm.
So I know if I'm there somewhere between 3 and 5, I'm happy to just put more.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just like,
Yeah, the secret is to look at your spend between the two channels because they work together.
Yeah.
Okay? So for everyone, Google Ads and Meta are slightly different in the sense. Google Ads generates demand for your business, Facebook generates demand for your business and Google captures your demand. So they need to work together. And if you think about getting new customers in, we do that via Meta. So what we recommend doing is testing new ads to attract new audiences. So what is it you sell?
Like bed sheets.
Bed sheets. Okay, cool. I got a client that sells bed sheets, so we're sort of aware of this. What we want to be able to do is who are we attracting and what audience we're attracting. And Facebook is so broad now, is that we don't know who a customer is. So what we want to be able to do is basically just put an ad up with a different creative and see what sort of audience it finds for us. And we just keep cycling through different creative to find new audiences. Facebook for us now is just an ad testing machine. All we're doing is we're putting up a picture and we're going, who likes it? And seeing how it comes through. So my recommendation is test different types of creative to audiences you didn't even think existed. And that's what we're seeing with one of our clients is they thought their audience was a 35-year-old female that was buying sheets for their family, but they actually found it was someone who was had a brand new house. It was their first house, and they realized that they could target those people instead of the people that were sort of the people just buying for a family. And so they did that because they did a different audience and a different sort of hook. So try different hooks and different hooks. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
See how you go? Just
It's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Still, like,
just continue to iterate and try new creative every time. Yeah.
thank you.
Does anyone else have a question at all?
Actually, I have another
Yeah,
question.
of course. Yeah.
How do you see like Amazon as a like marketing tool,
As a marketing tool.
or like what's your thought? Like, I think my product would do well there, but I'm a bit hesitant to like
Yeah.
tap to Amazon.
Amazon, the shop's on Amazon here. Okay. Why do you shop on Amazon? Yell out loud. Cheaper? Yeah. Any other reasons?
Or huge range.
Range?
You can find them.
Yeah. Prime, fast delivery, free shipping, Prime, all those sorts of things. An Amazon shopper is slightly different to your shopper, right? So there was this thought that, okay, if we sell our products on Amazon, they'll live there and then they're going to come buy from us directly. That's not really the case because they don't necessarily buy because it's your product. They buy because they have the other benefits, right? They get fast shipping, they trust Amazon, you get the reviews. So all the things about the 5 reasons to buy, Amazon ticks those things perfectly. Amazon's a great additional channel. So think about like having it as another shop. You can have a great Amazon business and you can also have a great e-commerce business and they can work both together perfectly. We've got clients that have a huge Amazon business and a huge e-commerce business and they just both grow together. So I'd recommend getting onto it for sure. It's not really a marketing tool, it's a sales channel. That's how I'd say it. Yeah. Cool.
And any thoughts on Afterpay as a marketing tool?
Afterpay. If you had have asked me 5 years ago, my answer would be different to what it is now. 5 years ago, Afterpay was amazing because not everyone had it, right? And it was this tool that everyone's going, oh, this person's got Afterpay, I'll choose them instead. And the Afterpay directory was great because everyone was going Afterpay and you're getting all this traffic from it. Now, it's an expectation that you have Afterpay and it doesn't add any additional value at all. In fact, I've got people that are turning Afterpay off because it's costing them too much and it hasn't impacted their sales. So if anyone is hating paying 7% to Afterpay, I recommend testing the other way. We keep it on our site, we find that it's useful, but if you've got really tight margins, it's worth testing whether or not you actually need it, but it doesn't. I don't think it's adding any more value as it used to. Definitely 5 years ago it did. Now it's about, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
First of all, amazing talk. Very interesting, concise, simple. I love it. The question to you is, what got you interested to actually do e-commerce? Did you actually do traditional marketing before you did e-commerce? And now you're teaching.
That's a good question. I actually was an IT guy before e-commerce, but that's boring. I was sick of climbing under tables and pulling out cables and telling people to restart the computer. And so I started making websites and then realized we could commercialize that. And e-commerce is heaps of fun. I just like selling stuff, business, and I like entrepreneurship. And I like that when I do something, that something happens and, you know, it's a financial outcome for me or for whoever I'm working for. So I just got excited about it. It's the new, well, it's not, but it's the way that everyone shops. It's easy, it's convenient, it's simple. It matched, it joined my love of technology with business, and it just was a nice little marriage, and I don't think I'd be doing anything else. Thanks for the question, though. That's good.
We've got time for questions.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, Brandon, now is the good time to ask him. Yeah.
Hi. My issue with paid ads, I haven't run any paid ads for about 3 years because I was hacked. So I lost, they got my personal credit card, business credit card, everything.
Yeah.
And I just haven't done a thing since. And I'm too scared. I know I've got to, but
Yeah.
what sort of safety measures can I put in place to do that?
Yeah, look, we've had a couple of clients that have been hacked, and there's been ways they get in. There's no real 100% secure safety measures. The only thing I could recommend is making sure you've got your two-factor authenticator set up, right? I've still heard people get hacked with that as well. Have an ultra-secure email address. Don't share it with anyone else. You know, use a credit. So we use a credit card that can only go to a certain amount, so that we can't get hacked too much. So let's just say it's got a $2,000 limit on it. It just means it might be charging it regularly, but it mitigates your risk of being hacked. So two-factor authentication, don't share your account with anyone, not even a team member. You're the only one that owns it. If you're having an agency come in, use an agency account. We've had people be hacked because their agency was in there as well, so that's always a tough one. But yeah, the best way to mitigate your risk is limit your credit card exposure, run two-factor authenticator, and don't share your account. Like otherwise, there's no real other way of getting hacked. Yeah. No magic bullet.
It wasn't a lot, but it was like just coming to
Yeah. Yeah. And it does take time for Facebook or Google to come back and help you with it, and then release your account. So yeah. Yeah. That's okay.
Thoughts on shipping costs as far as, you know, when to charge, what's free. It says we seem to spend an awful lot of money on shipping. You don't want to pass too much of it on to the customer or you might lose it.
We're very unlucky here in Australia with shipping costs, for sure. I think about it a couple of different ways. There's the way that's in your favour, and then there's the way that's in your customer's favour, and you've got to try and find a little equilibrium in the middle, like some sort of middle point. If I think about it from a conversion perspective of why people buy from you, the least friction that the person has, the better, right? So if we think about, can we offer free shipping? Can anyone offer free shipping here and make money? It's pretty hard, right? Because it's minimum $10 at thereabout. That's the best scenario, free, fast shipping like Amazon. However, we can't all afford that, so we need to go down the tiers a little bit. The next part is shipping thresholds. So what level do we charge a shipping threshold at? And does that make sense for us? The next level is sharing the shipping, which we see some retailers do. And what I mean by that is, while it might be $10 for you to ship, you only charge $5 for shipping, right? So we share the shipping and we offer a flat rate fee. The other part is they pay for shipping, which is calculated, but that it causes the highest conversion decline is those ones. So you sort of got to go through is how much can I afford to spend? Can I charge them if they spend a certain amount? And can I share it with them, or do I just charge them for it? Now, it depends on your industry, really, where you're in and what your competitors are doing on what you should charge. Because if you're in a space where everyone else is charging free shipping and you're not, who are they going to choose? They're going to choose someone else, unless you've got a product that they don't have, right? You've got to look at your industry stats. In fashion, for example, that's usually free shipping. So if you're in apparel, in sort of the category here, probably do have flat rate shipping with a lot of people, I'm noticing that. The heavier the item, so if you're selling like candles as an example, the heavy items with not high order value, and also they can just go to the local store and buy them without having to actually pay for shipping. There's no clear answer, to be honest. It's just what works for you and how to compete against your competitor. So on our store, we actually charge shipping, which is outside the norm, but we try and say that we have the stock that people can't buy, and we set it quicker. So people are willing to pay for that extra convenience. So how do you value stack that? So I guess my answer to you is, what's the shipping can you wear? In terms of getting cheaper shipping, there's really nowhere that without producing quality. Where do you ship with at the moment?
Well, we're countries,
Yeah.
so a lot of stuff goes through the post.
Yep.
Bigger items, we Star Trek or something. So we sell Christmas, sometimes we're shipping trees or
Yeah.
large. And at the moment we have over 400 free.
Yeah.
And ticket,
Yeah.
but it's going to be $50.
Yeah. So in your category, you could charge shipping because it's a specialist category and it's quite niche, and you've probably got products that not other people that have, and I'm guessing the quality of your products is a lot higher. So people are willing to ship it fast, and the product's great, right? Absolutely willing to pay shipping. And if no one else sells it for cheaper and faster, right? So you just want to make sure that it's a competitive, you're using it as a competitive advantage over someone else. Yeah. But yeah, it's I've got a store that sells in the US, and shipping is like $3 across the whole. It's like, I wish we had that. We just don't. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. No worries.
We still have a lot of time. We have about 15 minutes or so. You that you want to throw out to?
I might throw some. That's a good one. What's the one thing that's holding you guys back from growing your store, you think? What's the one thing that you get up in the morning and go, why is my store not growing? What do you think one thing is?
Exposure.
Exposure. Okay, so getting your brand out there. And what are you doing to fix that?
Social media ads.
Social media ads, yeah? Okay. Anyone else? So exposure's one, so traffic. Anyone else got any reasons why they don't think their store's growing? Sorry? Time to spend on it? Yeah. How are you fixing that?
Looking for these awesome ads.
Yeah, the ads are to do it. Look, I think it's really, yeah. Look, when we think about this flywheel, really the way I look at it is business takes time, right? It does take time, and we want to try and get the shortcut. And that's why we pay for the audience, we pay for people to come to our store to get our exposure, but we don't just pay, people don't look in the one spot. We've got customers everywhere, right? So if we think about Facebook ads, think about Google ads, we're using that to pay for them to get in here, but we don't lose them when they get there. So the goal for us is how do we capture their information so that we can continue to talk to them and we build up that database. So I think of it like a bucket. So our owned audience is like a bucket of customers. When I first start out, my bucket's really low and really empty. All right, so I have to pay to fill that bucket up. The problem is every time I dip into that bucket and take a customer out, the bucket goes down again. So what we want to try and do is think about how do we get more people into that bucket, and we either have to pay for them or earn the traffic, which we talked about. So basically, you just need to spread the word as best as you can, but capture the person as best as you can, because the audience that grows continues to compound. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're doing social media ads to the site, what happens when they get there and they don't buy? Do you have any way of keeping them there? Right? How do we keep them in our world? So email marketing is a big one for that. We want to make sure we're capturing database, retargeting ads, all those sorts of things. So we want to think not just a customer from here to here, it's how do we keep them and how do we get them to come back? Or if they don't buy from us, how do we get them to come back again? All right, so that's the thinking that lifetime value side of things. Yeah.
Just going on to that point, because you mentioned how do we keep them.
Yes.
We have a pop-up on our website for people to subscribe, and we offer 10% for our first order
Yes.
for people that subscribe. There's how can we, more value for subscription, because we have like Klaviyo and email flows and everything happening, but the struggle is don't know, our rate I think could be higher than what it is.
Okay. What do you sell? Cool.
Found straps.
Excellent. So what's your average order?
It's probably between $70 and $120.
Okay, cool, awesome. And when they sign up, what's the messaging look like? What do you say on the pop-up?
Or when the pop-up comes up.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I think it's saying 10% on your first order, subscribe to get 10% on your first order. And then they can click the email address in. We have a second pop-up coming up for SMS as
Cool,
well.
good.
And we also have, like in small letters, no thanks, I don't want 10% off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think then, I don't know, if it's saying thanks for subscribing, like once they subscribe to it.
Okay, cool.
And we have like a welcome flow happening.
Okay, so I've got a few little tips here on that. So thanks for sharing that. And I think it'll be really useful for everyone. So firstly, we test our offers all the time, right? So your pop-up offer it should be tested. And if you use Klaviyo, there's a metric that we look at, which is called form submit rate, right? And it's like a percentage. We want to see that continue going up. So every month we look at what our form submit rate is. And that tells us how good the offer is on our sign-up forms. So a few different tests that we do that you could try. How is the pop-up coming up? Is it a pop-up that just takes over the whole screen? Is it a fly-out pop-up? Is it a slide pop-up? Just changing those will hopefully look at whether your form submit goes up or down, okay? That's the first one. The second one is the offer itself, right? So we're testing different offers and there's no one thing that works for everyone, but currently we're finding a dollar-based offers working pretty good as opposed to a percentage-based offer because people find that more tangible. So we offer like $5 off our order. We have an average order value of $200 and we're offering $5 off. We're still getting a good form submit rate because people don't need to calculate how much that is, okay? They just know getting $5 easy. The other things I've seen work pretty well is like entering a competition is a good one, win a mystery prize, a free gift with purchase, shipping, express shipping. Our goal here is to not get them to make the sale. Our goal here is to get them to get into our database, okay? That's the key here. So the third one is around the psychology of why people are going to click that button. And we've got to think this is a value exchange, right? People know the value of their email address now. They know that if I'm giving it to you, you're going to absolutely give me something. And I don't want it to just be spam. So we changed the terminology we have on our pop-up form to say $5 off to order, send me my coupon, right? Not subscribe to my list. Because we're actually having to make two decisions there. One is, I want this, but I'm actually subscribing to a list. All I want is the coupon. Okay? So we just change the way we do our messaging on here's 10% off, send me 10%. Because that's clicking the button, give me the 10%. And then we go, please make sure you check your email. So one little tip here is if you're giving the coupon code after they click submit, it's on the screen, don't do that. Send it to them in their email because you want them to go in and open the email. Because that signals to Klaviyo and all the other providers that you've got people that want to open your emails, all right? And then they get used to receiving emails from you. So super simple, split test your offer, the way it comes out, split test the quantity amount, make sure it makes sense to that value. And then third one, change the languaging about what they're getting, not what you're getting, okay? And it makes a big difference. Just send me the coupon code it's been a game changer for us, super simple. But then you have to actually follow up on the promise and make sure you're actually emailing them things that they want to have and don't try and sell them straight away. So a good welcome series sends them the offer, introduces who you are, tells them what great products you have and why they should be part of your world, not just says, buy my stuff. As soon as they do that, then you lose their trust. Is that helpful? Cool.
Talking about the lucky draw entry.
Yes.
Do you see, like, if you remove your $10 sign-up thing with the win
Yep.
your product, does it work better? Or
It depends on the category.
like two different audience, like kind of.
It depends on the category. So I know with brands like Culture Kings, they do a lot of these lucky draw type things, enter to win a competition. And they've been doing it a lot, which you make an assumption that if they're doing that it works, not always the case, but they're doing a lot of that because they have this brand that people just want their stuff, right? And they're happy to win anything from them because whatever they sell is great. And that's where those sort of lucky dips come in. If you've got something that someone wants, it's great. The only drawback to that is if you're giving away the thing that they want, does that stop them from buying? That's another part as well. So we've got to weigh that up. And the other way is trying it. One of the things I have seen people do is they'll give away a product that they don't sell, but it appeals to the same audience. So if I think about in your world, you might give away, I don't know, pillow or something. I don't know if you sell pillows, but you might give away something that someone who wants that product is going to buy the same. It's the same audience. So you might. So for us, we might give away tickets to a boxing match as opposed to the actual products that we sell, because that gets the right audience, but it doesn't necessarily stop them from buying from us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just have to test it.
And instead of like having the pop-up when
Yep.
they want to leave, having a pop-up or you can win,
Mhm.
what is a good position on the website? Because I'm thinking like the traffic that comes in through Google or Facebook, like if I send them to a specific landing page and then ends with like if they want to go without buying, like
Yep.
try your luck, I don't know.
Yes.
Or what are good positions on the to have that win? Because we did that in the very beginning, and I remember it did fill up email. It kind of worked. But I think
Yeah.
it's the best practice to do.
I like them a few different places. I like them just as little flyouts that come out so it doesn't interrupt the person's shopping. Okay, there's nothing worse than that. And now we get pop-up blindness as well, right? We just, pop-up comes up, we don't even read it, we just close it. So Klaviyo has some pretty cool features where they have, if you've been scrolling, say 60%, fly something out. I really like that because if they've been scrolling, it shows their interest in your product. We're not interrupting their buying experience, but we're showing them that something's there. And it can just sort of sit there on the side. For mobile, we do it slightly differently. We'd have it come up from the bottom because it's part of like, it feels like you're scrolling, it feels natural. So that would be the one place. The on-exit pop-ups, which I think you sort of talked about, where people are looking to exit, I like them as being a full screen pop-up because they're about to exit, we need to get their attention. So we use different pop-ups for different reasons. That would be the three that I sort of use, is flyouts and the on-exit
And
ones.
not embedded.
Embedded, but you need to drive traffic to that itself. I don't see the embedded forms work very well. No, unless you're driving like a sign-up form or a gift form or something like that. But embedded forms at the bottom of the page, they're not that. I've never seen a high form submit rate on those. Yeah.
And a technical question: what apps do you recommend? Like I use Shopify.
Yep.
And I'm thinking like to have a win or even like on Facebook,
Mhm.
so someone could come in.
Yep.
The email.
Yeah, excellent. So we use Facebook lead ads. Has anyone ever used a lead ad? So Facebook lead ads means people can subscribe to a competition directly on Facebook and it goes into your Klaviyo automatically and they're in your world. So,
Also, Klaviyo has the win function.
yep. Well, they have a form that you can fill out that you can turn into a win function.
Aha.
Yeah. So you can run an ad directly into a Klaviyo list. Absolutely. That's quite straightforward. The other apps we would use is from an email perspective, it's just Klaviyo on Shopify. But other apps we like to use are things like Judge Me for reviews. I like that over sort of your Yotpos and your Akendos. It's bang for buck. It's $15 a month, and it does everything the big ones do. Other apps we might use are we use a specific app to send our products in Facebook for feeds, which is a really good one. And then something around post-purchase upsells. We use something like Reconvert for post-purchase upsells. They're sort of my 5 apps that I like to use.
For a win, like if you have like these entries, like
Yep.
you give them the email,
Yep.
and like get 5 more entries. if you
Oh
share
yeah,
it
okay, I know
on
the ones you
the
mean.
other.
No, I wouldn't recommend them because you get poor quality entries. Really all you need is a sign-up form on Klaviyo that's embedded in there and you drive traffic to it, or the little pop-out. We don't need any gimmicks, we just want to keep it super simple. And a great way to think about it is look at the biggest brands and how they run their e-commerce businesses. Do they have any of these gimmicky things? None of them do, right? Because that's just, like I said, it's all show and no go. We want to keep it super simple, we want to reduce friction, we want to make it really easy, and we want to make sure it's easy for them to do it.
Those like share on Facebook.
Don't work.
This is
No.
not. Thank
No.
you.
That's my opinion. Yeah. My real premise and my mission, I guess my values are keep everything as simple as possible so you know what works and what doesn't work. As soon as you start to add complexity, you just go, your mind gets blown, you're like, I'm just overwhelmed. So we just want to keep it super simple, do simple things really, really well. Yeah.
What are the ads that, can you repeat the ads that you would recommend for us to explore in this, while we're running this e-commerce system? I didn't catch you.
Oh, yeah. Really, if you're starting off, to get new people, attract brand new people, we were using meta ads, no doubt about it. It's so simple to use it now. I do have a YouTube video on how to set it up, so feel free to check that out. That would be how to get new people. How to capture the demand of your product, we use Google Ads. I'd run those two pretty simple, and both of them have like AI versions of running them, right? So you just turn it on and pray that sales come in. That would be the two ones I'd start with. I wouldn't do anything else. I wouldn't run Pinterest. I wouldn't do any other things yet until you get that right, because that's going to prove, do we have a product that people want to buy pretty quickly. And if it does, then we can start going, okay, let's go down this circle and start adding some more things on. So just Facebook, Advantage Plus ads, Advantage Plus shopping, and then Google Performance Max. That'd be my two if you want to get super techie. Yeah.
What did you say? Google which ones?
Performance Max.
Just performance.
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's it. I do have the YouTube video on how to set up PMax, so feel free to check it out. So just as an example, we have a 6-figure a month store, and we run 2 campaigns. This is all I do. I have 2 Advantage Plus campaigns in Facebook, and I have 2 Performance Max campaigns. That's it. I have nothing else part that. I look at it 2 hours a week, and that's it. I don't look at it anymore.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah, check it out. The problem was people overcomplicate e-commerce, and they think they need to be looking at it every day and changing things and tweaking things, but you don't have to. The AI does it all now.
I did one like this.
Mhm.
Display
Right.
where like you just put the assets and it does something.
Yeah.
And like when I see my own ad,
Yeah.
they don't convert, so I
Yeah.
turn them off.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't look very good sometimes. So yeah, you have to obviously make them look, people aren't going to buy from ugly creative.
No, but I mean the creatives are nice, but the way they do
Oh,
it
the way they
together.
just find. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Sometimes just look at the numbers. It may not look that pretty, but hey, if it's making you sales, sometimes you're like, well, maybe I just got to get over that a little bit.
But you, like if like my creatives they don't do well in that
Mhm.
AI drawn together thing, I'm always tempted to do them manually so they actually look nice.
Yep.
Do you see any value in that, or is it?
Yeah, definitely do them manually if you can. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you want to have them represent, your brand and your product perfectly. So if you can manually create them and do creative, absolutely. That's why teams have graphic designers in them because, the AI can only do so much. Obviously, it doesn't do the right fonts and doesn't do the right aesthetic. So if you can do them yourself, absolutely, that you should always do that. What the AI does well though is it does the media buying for you, right? So it's actually good that you brought that up. So we might have the AI to build the whole campaign for us, but we need to control the creative because the ads are only as good as the creative that we have, right? So we've got about 14 tests. We've done about 14 tests in the last sort of 3 months on creative, and so each test is we put a new bit of creative out there and we see whether the audience likes it and whether or not we get sales or we don't. And if we don't get sales, then the creative's wrong. So we
So
try a
the
new one.
PMax, you put the creatives, you don't let them mix together.
They will still mix some of it together, but you do put your own images and things in there. Yep.
Because for keywords, that
Mm.
ads something, and then I have like the dynamic.
Yep.
The dynamic sometimes
Yeah.
it's not the best one.
Yeah.
I guess it's similar.
It's similar. Yeah, I would just recommend PMax, put in your best creatives, your best words, and let it do its job. The key though is, don't stop it after 2 or 3 days. It needs to run 7, 14 days. One of the problems I see is people spend money for 3 days and go, it's not working. And then they just pause and then don't start it. But realistically, you have to have time. So if you think about a normal trading week in your business, right? If you've got a shop, Sundays or Saturdays might be busier than Tuesdays. So if you run your ads on Monday and stop them on Wednesday, you haven't had a full week of trade to know whether or not those ads work. And people don't realize that that's how e-commerce works as well, right? You work full time and you don't get time to buy and you might shop on a Saturday morning or a Sunday night. But if you don't have your ads running the whole week, you can't actually see that. So then you need to run the whole week and then run another week to see whether that momentum continues, and then the ads start to optimize. And too many people stop at 3 days because it didn't work. It doesn't make sense because you need to realize that there's a psychology of people that buy. It's not about the algorithm. It's about where people are at that one point in time.
And do you see like a minimum amount you should spend?
Yes.
Like a daily spend
Yes.
in order for them to get going?
Yep. So we talked about cost per purchase earlier. This is how we work out our ad spend. So if you think you've got, let's say you've got a profit of $40 per order, and you're willing to spend $20 of that to get people. So we need to spend at least $20 a day to get one order, right? So all we got to do is multiply the amount of money we want to spend to get an order. So we recommend spending at least 3 times what your cost per purchase is per day on order. So if it's $20, you should be spending $60 per day because that's going to give the algorithm enough room to go and find new customers. If we spend any less than our cost per purchase, then we're not going to get enough sales throughout the day, or we're not going to spend enough money. So super easy metric, that cost per purchase, just triple your cost per purchase budget. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Another
Yep.
budget. But I find for my account,
Mm.
I do that, and that sometimes it works quite well, like a very good conversion rate. And then, but they always are limited by budget.
Yep.
And then once I follow their recommendation, I find it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like Google Ads work more, like I do keywords, right? So it's more in the morning, like people they have idea that they need to get this,
Yep.
like more of a, like,
Does anyone else do Google Ads here? Yeah. And were you using PMax or anything like that? Done it yourself, or you got someone else doing it? Sorry. It's okay. No, because I'm making sure the answer I give applies to everyone. That's all.
No, I guess what I was going to ask, which was kind of similar to yours, was in terms of money on ads, do you, or on Google, is display or keyword better? Because I kind of play around with both, and I'm not really. It goes up and down, and I can't pinpoint which one is working best for us.
So display isn't really that great in general. I've never really seen display go exceptionally well. Using Performance Max, I find, is the best because it does everything, right? Super simple, especially if you don't have time to analyze and go through and run your own standard campaigns. In terms of like the recommendations, I think from Google, which is sort of where I was going to go to. So answer to that is keywords is better than display. Display just wastes your money. But I would recommend Performance Max instead of just keywords. In terms of recommendations, some recommendations, you should just assess them on your own merit, right? So if they say you've got a target ROAS or a tier ROAS of here, have a look and see whether the metrics of the cost per purchase metric makes sense to what their recommendation is. So don't just go ahead and apply all the recommendations. You need to look at how the ads are performing and whether or not that recommendation is going to impact or decrease your ad. So I never really turn on the recommendations from Google. In terms of increasing budget, it's the same trick. What's our cost per purchase and can we spend more money, right? So if your cost per purchase is $19 in Google and you can spend up to 20, then just spend more money. Just put the budget up. And as soon as it starts to hit it, then we hold it there, okay? So yeah, the recommendations Google gives us just should signal us to look at that area to see whether it's the right thing. Does that help a little bit? Yeah?
Awesome, we have come to time, but Brendan, I think you have a QR code for touch with you.
Or you can just follow me on things, all the social things. But the QR code is to get the checklist. So if you didn't get that, it is. Yeah, so grab that. That will help you. Just a checklist of things you just need to do just to make sure it's all good. And then underneath you can see you can follow me at the E-commerce Academy on YouTube, or all the socials is just my name. I'm always dressed in black with a hat, so it'll be me. Thank you so much, guys. It was really great to chat with you all and hopefully you found something from it. I'll be walking around the conference throughout the day, so feel free to tap me on the shoulder if you've got any questions.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Brendan.